talk about something else. Listen to my story. Now, when the pollen gets to a stigma, which is ripe, it sends down a tube through the style right down into the ovary. And again, it sends another cell through that tube, which travels down into the ovary to meet those eggs. Once that happens, the ovary begins to swell, and it will begin to swell. And now the tiny eggs will now transform into seeds. Now the job of that swollen ovary or the fruit is actually to protect those precious seeds. And once that happens, the floral parts are no more needed and they just wither. What I've said is that the pollen lands on the stigma that is ripe, and once the pollen lands on the stigma, it sends down through this tile a tube, and that tube travels right through to the ovary. And then again, another cell is sent through that tube, and that travels right down into the ovary to meet those eggs in the ovary. And once that happens, the ovary begins to swell. And it swells and swells, and as this happens, the tiny eggs change to seeds. And the work of the swollen ovary or the fruit is actually to preserve those precious seeds. And once this happens, the flower pods are no more needed. They wither and dry up. Now let's look at some fruits here. Look at this green pepper. Can you see the calyx all dried up? And look, if you look carefully, you will see stamen all dried up. The same thing here. Look at this pear. It's dried up stamen, all dried up. And if you look at here, the calyx is actually dried up and gone. Here, same thing with the banana. If you look at here, this shows the flower parts that are dried up, and here they're all dried up. The calyx and the stamen are all dried up.